Bienvenue, welcome again to our special committee of the whole meeting. We are continuing from the other day on our strategic priorities. We'll have roll call. District 1.
District 1, Carrie Ann Pearson Salter.
District 2, Jesse Hare. District 3, Justin Hensel. District 4, Charles Crankin.
District 5, Lynn Longmire.
District 6, John Walsh. District 7 today. District 8, District 10, Brian Bundy.
District 11, Diane LeBlanc. Okay, is there any disclosure of interest? Seeing none, we'll move on. The approval of the agenda. Not adding anything, so do we unanimously consent to the agenda?
Yes.
Thank you. New business, and it is the review of the strategic plan. We will have discussion, and I will leave it to our CAO, Mr. Frost. And we are on priority number 4, which is page 15. And you're on.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So just as a reminder, and for anybody that's listening, so we've walked through the first part of the strategic plan as it currently stands, and we've gone through the first 3 sections. So what we're doing is we'll go through each of the items that remain for discussion, if there is any, and particular things that we want to discuss further. Okay, so we got 3, so we're on priority 4, which is investing in our people. So the first item under 4 was the municipality will undertake a fire service review through an external fire service expert to provide full assessment of our 11 fire departments and the services they provide, determine if the municipality is providing enough support and resources to them, and to look for ways for all partners to cooperate fully to plan for long-term success. So I would say that this is partially complete. There was a review done. There's some questions as to whether or not it hit all the marks that we were looking for. And we also know with this particular one that the changes that will be coming into effect by province related to fire will have a pretty significant impact on this one. So even though we have done some work, I suspect that we'll need to look at this one again from probably from a different angle. The next one, there are numerous funding programs available for all 4 levels of government for less fortunate or low-income families in our communities. We will open houses in different locations in Adams County to enroll more eligible residents in these programs so residents can keep more of their money. We will provide assistance with applying for municipal and provincial funding programs. So this one at the time is incomplete. Alyssa has been doing quite a bit of work on a anti-poverty plan, and has been doing some good things and good meetings on that front, but we'll have to have some further discussion. Next is our municipality is successful when we have well-trained and supported staff to ensure we are able to provide the best possible service to residents and communities. We'll implement a new organizational structure that focuses on providing better and timely services to residents through investments in our staff and reducing red tape. So again, this is marked as complete. So there was reorganization prior to my arrival, and we've made a few tweaks since then as well. And again, hopefully we've made some improvements in the services and how they're delivered. So there's 4 more in section 4. The next one is the greatest concern for municipalities is poverty, and Adams County is one of the highest rates of poverty in the province. That's unacceptable to lift families out of this dark situation requires a team effort. To begin this important work, the municipality will establish an anti-poverty working group, extend invitations to various educational, health, employments, housing, social services, and community leaders to the table to develop a community action plan. So again, this is marked complete. As I mentioned, Phyllis has done some very and this meeting is going, and the plan continues to develop. Healthcare is a universal right and needs to be free. Sadly, healthcare facilities in Nova Scotia discriminate against residents parking fee. while many other healthcare facilities enjoy free parking. Annapolis County residents must pay to access Soldiers Memorial Hospital in Milton and Annapolis County Health Center in Royal. Will advocate for free parking at all healthcare facilities in Nova Scotia, including Webster. This one is marked complete as the provincial government changed this. It was 2 years ago now, to allow free parking in all centers. Next one, recognition is important. Outstanding recognition is vitally important to bestow on deserving individuals as it highlights the strong community that individuals came from, currently contribute to, or live in. For that reason, we will establish Nova Scotia's first municipal order, the Order of Annapolis County, to exist alongside the Order of Canada and Order of Nova Scotia. This one is marked incomplete. Again, I think there's some discussion on this one regarding where this would sit within the organization and how we can bring it to fruition. So again, the only information we have is what was put in our strategy. So some direction on that one when we pause for discussion might be good. And the last one in 4.7, emergencies are becoming more commonplace and learning about what is happening and what residents need to do to stay safe and challenging. To help those most vulnerable, we will pilot a landline, texting, cell phone, and email alerting system. People will be able to register time alerts. This one is complete. It's been well used. Pause there if there's any comments or questions.
Okay, I'm ready. Do you have any comments or questions for any of these? Oh, no, you did a great job. Let's move on.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
No, I don't.
Since we have all of these on Sunday days.
Oh, I guess we have a scraggler, sorry.
Yeah, no, yeah, too.
I have two. Okay, Councillor Welch and then Councillor Ochsner.
Do we have a timeline on the anti-poverty working group? We might be seeing some of that during council.
Through you awarded to councillor, so I mean, it's definitely an ongoing thing. I can certainly chat with Alyssa this week, but when she's back, we can have a discussion about what we will take back to council and when. There's been some really good work there. Some of the committees, but
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Ochsner?
Hey, Councillor Walsh, one of my two questions. Number two, the numerous funding programs available from all levels of government. There had been talk last year, I believe, about having sessions where we would provide assistance to people for applying for grants. That never happened. Is that a possibility down the road? A lot of people are intimidated by the process. So we were gonna.
yeah. Through you awarded, so again, I think this is why this discussion is good for me as well. Because sometimes the description in the strat plan doesn't provide enough information as to what the discussion was and what was included in that. It's certainly something we can look at. I do, again, it's one of those things about resources and who that sits with and what type of funding we're looking at applying for. So, you know, if it's things like the heating rebate as an example, like the provincial program, that yeah, we just need to figure out what that looks like. I know in other communities that I've worked in, sometimes there's volunteer groups that do that type of thing, so we might be able to look at some coordination, some assistance with that, to see if we can find a solution for this.
I know a lot of times people are directed to the MLA's office and then they redirect them and it gets kind of convoluted and confusing and people give up, so. If there's some way we can streamline it, that would be great.
Thank you. Deputy Warden?
Thank you. So I do recall, maybe I was drinking, but we've had sessions hosted by REC, I believe, that went through our grants, and I think we invited other levels of government to that. So I think we did some of it, but perhaps we haven't more than once a year. I don't think we had 2026. 2025 they did. And it went through, so maybe it's something we have to set up every year. Yeah, so we did do it once.
You're focusing on the community grant to recreation
No,
grants?
we had,
Individuals and
Yeah,
assistants.
so that was around grants, but we also had the MLA was there at the lead. And, but yeah, definitely a good idea.
So would you say that that was the session that went at the Lawrencetown?
Yeah, there was one there, and I think there was
At the
another.
top?
After Clemens had one.
Down there.
Yeah. So we've had some, but it's not been consistent like that.
Got nothing in 2026.
Yeah,
So I wasn't drinking.
No,
yeah. Anyway, Councillor Longmire?
yes, and I did have great success with David Bowlby, the MLA, coming out to halls, and we had that very generous discussion around the importance of their role in bringing his support person to help answer questions around, the provincial programs and things like the heating, and there's others.
Yeah.
And he was more than willing to do that in the district, so I thanked him for that. And then as well, Ms. Blake, she facilitated, of course, these other opportunities throughout some of the halls to help educate people on how to fill out different parts of paperwork as well. And I think as counselors, the more that we become aware of each of those applications, we can as well, go to those halls, and perhaps during a coffee hour or such, we can help them navigate, right, and help fill out or provide whatever information they might not know to bring. I know I had solar. It was a big question in my district. People were interested on how to find out because they wanted to see if it would be reasonable for them to convert, to more green energy. And so I had invited out Halifax Solar, and he sat down and was able to go right straight through the application process and show them literally how easy it was. And so, different things like that. I know when you reach out to the people who know best, you can help field some of those questions.
Perfect, thank you. Councillor Cranton?
I'm really just gonna echo what my colleagues say. I think this is an important one that would be beneficial to a lot of residents. I know some of the inquiries I get from my residents are on this nature and not necessarily knowing what's the municipal program and what's the prevention program, and it's our problems either way. And I'll also point out that sometimes, like in the last year, when the provincial programs are always changing between threshold amounts and income level amounts, and in some cases quietly disappearing, in some cases put back but not advertised and whatnot. I attended the session in comments, and it was very well. It did reference some provincial programs, but it was heavily focused on ours. But it was heavily focused on the community organizations. And this topic, I'm thinking what's available for the individuals and the families and even the small businesses. What Councillor Longmire said, an emerging one is every year the heat rebate changes, and one year it's 800 and next year it's 400, and then next year it may apply to that. And heat pumps and solar are some things that, it seems one year they're supported and next year they're not, and you hear they're supported, but it's hard to find the information. I was fortunate enough to catch Obi's newer assistant, and he sent me some information on both solar and the backyard suites program. I believe the backyard suites program may already be outdated on it said that there's potentially it's been canceled. So long story short, it is something I think would share great value. And it would definitely have to have some, which I think we would get, some coordination with our provincial reps. Because most of this, what they need is coming from provincial sources. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Councillor Trump?
Our CAO touched on number 6 there, the no switch. And I just don't understand exactly how we would do that. Because when somebody's being nominated for Canada or Nova Scotia, sometimes we believe this. So, I mean, when it comes down to a municipal order, who's gonna put that forward is my question. We do it as a volunteer saying that we let the community whose name should go forward. It isn't a choice of this council to be biased and pick one name, so I don't quite understand how we would create a
I think we would probably try to follow the same steps that the one with the Nova Scotia one. Open it up to the public and they would put in their. Kind of no different than the volunteer program that we have.
So is it something that we want to continue with, or is it important to be in there?
I can't answer that one by myself.
Because
I mean,
I was
everybody-
taking draft CAO, that was one of the ones of the 6, 7 things we have that he's questioning on it.
If I may, Gordon, I mean, I'd like direction because, again, I don't know where all of these things came from when they got included in your strategy plan. So if it's not something that council wants us to continue, then that's something we would remove as we make tweaks to it. If it's something you want us to continue, then obviously we need to find a way to do it. I would say, you know, there's a reason why no other municipalities do something like this, and it is a time and a commitment. And to your point, I mean, we could absolutely write a bylaw or policy that says how it happens. I mean, quite simply, you nominate a volunteer as a year, you know, so you could use a similar model to that, but again, we need direction, like, do you want this to continue or not?
And I don't know how it got on there in the first place either, so.
Former CAO.
Hmm?
Former CAO.
Okay. Councillor Fair and then Councillor Cranton for the second time.
Volunteer recognition is definitely important. I just don't know if that's the way to do it. I did appreciate seeing on our social media page volunteer recognition we see there, so perhaps there's a different way we can do it, expand upon the way we're already doing it. I think this is. I don't feel good about. I'd have to see it, see a plan for it to feel good about it, because right now, just looking at it, I don't feel good about it, so I'll leave it at that.
Okay, so do we have any recommendation for this? Or are we gonna leave it as is, Councillor Cranton? And then Councillor Ivanbar.
In theory, I'd like to see continue, just because of, recently discussion our being put forward for the Nova Scotia and discussion on, you know, that didn't get recognized. Is there a way to recognize outside of that? Because obviously, when you think of it, there's lots of great candidates for the board of Nova Scotia that they can only pick one, that if their local municipality is able to recognize that. My biggest concern as an elected official is, you know, the volunteer one kind of, and there's a good process and a good selection and good discussion. So my biggest concern about it would be, the actual selection of the recipient. And some, you know, trying to find the right words. Independence of political bias, I guess is what I'm getting at. I wouldn't want to be in a position of ruffling feathers or something like that. Like there'd have to be a clear, concise eligibility evaluation and selection method, so that it's not just, well, this
We-
person's friends with council, so
Yeah,
selected.
if we have, like for the volunteer, that are, how many people have sat on that committee? To pick volunteer, yeah, and you did, and you did, yes. There is a precise way of doing,
Yeah.
and their questions, and they're evaluating each person on the committee. It's an evaluation, so at the end result, it's independent, but
Yeah.
it's all accumulated and come up with the person that's, or persons that are most. So it could be a process in that manner as well. However, I'm not gonna put words in anybody's mouth. Councillor Agenbar and Councillor Oxner.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank Councillor for bringing this up. It almost got sort of swept under the rug here. I think it's actually an important thing to discuss. My question is this not the forum for us to actually make a motion, to have a discussion, and decide whether this is something that we should or should not do?
That's,
To continue the dialogue that we just established. Is this not the forum to do that? And if so, I can make a
this is why I asked if there was a motion that we discussed it or not.
Well, if I may, so we did have a discussion at our last strategic plan that we weren't gonna make individual motions on these.
Right.
But what I'm,
You're gonna
the
collect
whole
the-
discussion is so that I can hear your thoughts. And we'll take back a recommendation, and if, you know, I really need to know, like, what's the general thought, should it stay in or not stay in? And then everything else we can figure out.
just follow up on that.
Yes, go ahead.
So having said that, in the direction, and I do recall that now, I think this is certainly one that should be considered for removal.
Okay.
I think it's somewhat redundant considering the rest of the awards that we do, the volunteer awards, is the Order of Canada, the Order of Nova Scotia, and as Councillor Grant so eloquently put, you know, is this another layer of that? Because we already recognize volunteers. Thank you.
These are all totally different when you try to evaluate. Councillor Oxner.
I say we remove it as well. I feel we're diluting the Order of Nova Scotia and the Order of Canada. It's like, you know, all the kids get a first place when they participate in something. I'm sure if some citizen does something really outstanding, we're gonna be aware of it and we could do a special recognition award rather than tying up staff time creating this.
Thank you. Did I have somebody else? Okay, Councillor.
And that was my concern is
Staff time.
staff time. We have ways to recognize people. And I just don't want to get caught recognizing somebody promoted by the county that other people have other opinions of. So that we get caught in a conversation with residents that, oh, I know that person, and that's not quite true, or that's not quite true, or so we're to try to recognize somebody. And I know that when you go through the process, that process elimination does help that, but I didn't think that we have enough recognition in there. Yep.
Anybody else on the topic? Councillor
Just
Hurley?
quickly, Warden, yeah, thank you. I just want to say, I think that I like the first sentence of this. Recognition is important. The first two sentences, I guess, and the outstanding recognition is vitally important to deserving individuals. But I don't like the rest of it. I don't think that we need to have a separate municipal order. I think in terms of staff time and resources, it might not be the best use of those resources, but I think it is still important that we have possibly something in the strategic priorities that just identifies that recognition of volunteers is important. I don't necessarily think that part needs to be thrown out, but I think that I'm leaning towards not having an establishment of a new order. It just seems like a lot of time and resources that might be better somewhere else.
Thank you. I think you know where you're going with this.
Directions.
Anybody else? Okay, we'll move on.
Okay, so moving on to priority number 5, investment in partnerships and 7 of these. So the first one, we will facilitate the establishment of an intermunicipal working group, including the town of Dundas Royal and town of Middleton, to review current working relationships and agreements. This will be done with the goal of working closer together through sharing of staff and resources, streamlining or eliminating unnecessary agreements, and looking for ways to support more efficient programs and services for all residents. So let's say that this one is complete. We do have these meetings quarterly. We have had discussions at these meetings as to the function and the terms, and it's always a discussion as to how we can improve. Next one, to work with our neighboring municipalities to maximize efficiencies and delivery of similar services. We will strengthen and rebuild our relationship with all municipalities in Annapolis Valley and work towards a single unified solid waste management system of Valley Waste, and continue to support the important work that Kings Transit provides to our residents. So again, this will be complete. We are active participants in those discussions and meetings on a regular basis. Next one, moving forward, we will consider greater investments in economic development and will contemplate joining Valley Regional Enterprise Network, work more diligently and cooperatively with our business community throughout the Annapolis Valley, especially the Bridgetown area Chamber of Commerce, to better support our current businesses by leveraging more business retention and expansion support, along with increased marketing efforts. So this one's marked as a partial. I know that there's more discussion prior to my arrival. So joining, and then now, as we mentioned in the letter this morning, they're doing a review of the REN. The whole funding model that changed certainly has changed how the REN is going to be operating. There's still a lot of things up in the air right now. And then the other thing that we've done with partners is to look at adding our own economic development position, which will cover off some of these things that we're going to approach. The next one, we recognize that Annapolis County is very large geographically, and it's not easy for some to access services at our office in Annapolis Royal. We will therefore endeavor to establish a part-time satellite office in Middleton to better service the needs of our residents in the east end of Annapolis County. So this one is complete, and as we're looking at adjusting that space now, which will better serve residents again. Climate change and sustainability are important, and we need to do more. We will develop a plan for how the municipality plans to address its own carbon footprints and consider such things as the use of more renewable energy, converting our vehicle fleet away from diesel to more environmentally responsible fuels, advocating for more protection of our forests, develop policy that will reduce or eliminate unnecessary negative impacts on the environment. This is marked as partial, but this will be something that's really never complete. We did just approve the internal climate change plan, so that's one step of that. But again, when you talk about advocacy, that would be an ongoing discussion for sure. Next, to improve our financial accounting and reporting, we will reconstitute our municipal audit committee with more community representatives, provide more detailed terms of reference and scope, and we will provide more regular updates to the community on our financial status. So again, this one has been occurring. Please, I do believe we need one more person for our audit committee. And then lastly, accessibility for all must be commonplace moving forward and not seen as an add-on or extra cost. We will continue to promote and advance the requirements for this with community groups and businesses by providing financial support and advice when possible, to be a leader in improving all municipally owned facilities so more residents can access them with barriers. So again, this would be marked partially. We are working with split accessibility group, community or committee that will continue to look at this and how we integrate and talk to community groups.
Good, thank you. Now it's time for comments or questions. I'm not gonna be cool, the last time you did the same thing. No question. Councilor Agarban.
Thank you, Gordon. I just want to touch on number 3 there. So obviously Valley Green is certainly looked after in that respect, but I just wanted to reiterate the importance of that process, particularly with area groups such as the Bridgetown Chamber of Commerce and actually the marketing group now with the that we're involved with as well. So it's important that we do our due diligence there and keep that in the process. And because I know that the deputy warden and myself, we do attend some of the meetings for the Bridgetown Chamber of Commerce, and there's a lot of good information there, and it's a very active and viable group that's promoting not just Bridgetown, but the whole county actually. I just wanted to go on record as saying, I think that's an important process that we need to consider.
Great, thank you. Councilor Linemeyer, you're thinking.
Well, I think I'll just make a couple of statements. Thank you, Gordon. Number one, we've been saying for a long time how important partnerships and relationships and, our neighbors on each side of us, work as we faced in conversation at NSFM in Yarmouth. It was a hot topic, how important those neighbors are. And, we should not want to have to, create something from new when others may already be learning from an experience. So, those conversations are so invaluable. I wanted to point in 4, I know that Councillor Oxner I don't believe you have a hall in your district. No. So how wonderful it was that we did find purpose in a part-time established office up in Middleton to allow for citizens to come in there and do some businesses. Certainly now more than ever, how costly fuel is and people traveling, and we're not doing everything online. So it's wonderful to see that, and wonderful for her or whoever needs to use that area to speak with other citizens or whatnot. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. Councilor Connell, Councilor Bennington, and Councilor Wells.
And myself, I mean, I agree with the RIN thing for now is back door. Working with the other 2 towns with the economic development position. And it's not only the Bridgetown area Chamber of Commerce, but I mean, people that, if businesses were to come into the town of Middleton or now Royal, you would find a lot of residents that work for businesses within those 2 towns, which is within our county. A lot of people that work in those other municipalities live in our county. So I think working with all commerce throughout our county is one of the things we should be doing as working as far as not only what the government level wants, but what the commerce is looking for around our county. Because it's going to improve our county. We enhance with new businesses coming in the area. So I'm looking forward to how that position works out. I've been on council where we've had our own economic development. And wheels were spinning hard, vehicles doing burnouts, not moving fast. So this new decision, I'm looking forward to the works with our municipal neighbors. And it's all for the good of Nats County. So that our new position will be good.
Thank you. Mr. Crichton.
Just kind of on number 3, on echo some of what Colin just said, the importance of listening and having dialogue with commerce and industry associations. So some of thinking of, I'm drawing on work here in the marketing committee. Some of the discussion on that topic has come up, and the importance of discussions with the Chamber of Commerce, industry associations in general. So there isn't one in that area, but it would be good if there was. So, and I'll just draw attention to some of our committees. Not only do they have citizen appointments, but in the case of the marketing one, it's the citizen appointment is specifically from the industry that it's there to talk of, and I can tell that when I've gone back into my community at an AGM, that particular topic, it was a little bit divisive, and being able to communicate that there was industry representatives on the committee, but gave some assurance that the industry was well represented, and it wasn't just politicians in the ring coming up with the rules. So that was good. And so it's just good to have those consultations, and I would just throw out some industry associations fully understand the situation with the Brandon, just put it on the back burner, but keep in mind there's other, and again, listening to what I've heard in the marketing one is staff are familiar with the regional industry associations and drawing on knowledge, so as long as we keep that in mind. And the position is a good partnership example between the two towns, but I would just say that's also important to include dialogue and conversation with our neighboring counties, so the Kings County, Digby County, just because, you know, the people that live in our residence, you know, municipal boundaries are just a line on a map for people's lives and economics and region. But generally, they're affected if they're on one end. They're likely there's things that go on in Kings County that affect us, and there's things that go on in Digby County that affect us, and vice versa. So I would just echo. I think we've got we do a lot with the two towns, but I do know in the past there was formal agreement, I believe, with Digby municipality, some of the infrastructure projects and things like that. So just putting it there it's important to include the two neighboring counties and work as well. So, yeah.
Thank you. I'll make a comment at the end. Councillor Welsh.
I'll just re-echo what my fellow councillors have already spoken about. I think having a development officer for our area is hugely important, and hopefully they're able to act as the liaison with the around on each side of us. But I'm also very interested to see what municipal affairs comes back with, to see what changes and how that's going to affect us in the near future. So I think there's a lot of opportunity here for growth by having a development officer in place. But I really look forward to see some positive changes coming from that.
Right, thank you. Anybody else? Councillor Officer, sorry.
Number 7, the accessibility. The last sentence says, we'd be a leader in improving all municipality-owned facilities. Where are we at with the office in Middleton? Because that is not at all accessible. So I don't know if there's possibilities in the near future for us relocating. And even here in this building, we do have a ramp. Oh, it's quite a trek. If you have a walker or using a cane, get to that ramp. So I'm hoping we can look at rearranging some parking and maybe possibly have accessible parking near the ramp.
Okay.
Yeah,
have a comment?
yeah, I'll just very quickly, we are looking at a new solution in Middleton, so we'll bring you that information as soon as we can. And yes, I agree with you 100%. This, you know, I know that there's been some accessibility upgrades, but this building is far accessible in all activities, so we've got a lot of work to do.
The only thing I can see is parking on the front lawn, to put it closer to the ramp for people, so.
Anybody else? That's okay.
I was gonna ask about the accessibility one too, but, on 5, we just think it was our climate action plan. And the only thing in there that I see and I'm very knowledgeable on is the advocating for protection of rural forests. I just see it as something that's very politically, it's a political thing, politically, and we are politicians, of course. But it is, I almost see it as one side or the other. Without that in there, the advocating goal, I do see that that would be something that we could potentially see marked as complete someday, correct? If I'm wrong.
Yes, it would depend on what the goal is, right? I mean, advocacy, and I've got another slide, I've got more slides after we finish this about questions, and advocacy it's a tough one. And when, you know, I've heard other discussions around the table about other particular topics, and with that one, there needs to be a good discussion about what advocacy, what this group agrees advocacy looks like, and what's included in that or not included in that, and how you come to an agreement as to what you should or shouldn't advocate for.
Yeah. Because, like I say, this is very politically minded, because I think of the sawmills we have in Nova Scotia, and I think of the forests we have and foresters. And while some old forests should be protected, we do need to see more forestry in Nova Scotia, and we need to see more forestry in Indianapolis County. I'm seeing more and more woodlots die to beetles. It's not good, so I guess that's my comments on that. To be argued both ways.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else? Well, I'm gonna leave you with the positive note. You were discussing about how we have to be more friendly with our neighbors. And I know for a fact that there are a lot of different areas in Nova Scotia are surprised that we have an intermunicipal committee with our 2 towns and us. And now we have a joint with the commission. So they were happy to hear that, and they wish they could do that, and they're you know, we are ahead from what I could see of the game. Part 2. I was sitting at the NSFM back in November, and I was with my counterpart, warden from Digby County. And we were sitting with people from all over, but one particular person was one of the counselors from Halifax. And we were introducing each other and whatnot. And she had seen us talking and going on. And so we said, where we're from, and she said, your counties are side by side, aren't they? We said, yes. Did you guys get along like that? I thought to myself, I don't know what that means. We gotta look at each other. I said, why? Did you expect we're gonna be fighting here or what? I said, no. She said, so you actually get along? Oh, yes, we do. That's nice to see. I'm quite impressed. So I think we're ahead of the game. It's not that I'm saying we should we still have work to do, but it certainly was positive, the things that I've heard, so hopefully we can continue in the same way that we're going. Okay, so I'm done with my comments, so now it's your turn again, Mr. DAO.
So just a couple more slides and just. So with the meeting that we had a few weeks ago and our discussion today, we just want to revisit some of those initial questions to see if there's other things to be thought of, or want to consider. So again, I'll just go through these three, and then if there are things you want to add, that we haven't discussed yet, so where should the county director focus? What are the things you've heard from residents about where to focus, and what is the county-wide initiative or project to engage with? So again, if there's things that have come up in your thoughts since our last meeting, or in this discussion, I've got one more slide after this.
Okay, so we're, any extras from those three questions, and we'll start with you, Jennifer. Jennifer?
I guess I'll be brief, and I think it covers all 3 points at once. When I just say that I think we should direct our focus on basically the unfinished portions that we've gone through here today, before we look into a whole bunch of new. Not that we can't have some new, but it would be nice to finish what's on our plate already. We've got a lot of things already on the go in the county, so it would be nice to direct our focus on that. And I guess lastly, it's just more engagement with the residents and finding different ways to engage with the residents, get more information out to them. Always a huge issue, always what we hear about.
Jennifer Oxner?
In my area, what I hear most about are the individuals that are unhomed and are suffering from mental health issues. So I would really like our focus to be on our anti-poverty group and see what we can develop.
This is my wish list.
Okay, here she goes.
With the growth coming in the East End, I think maybe services and stuff in the right areas in the East End might be something that we should be looking at for the growth and development here in the near future.
Yes. I agree. Councillor Thornton?
I agree with the other colleagues on what some of the directions we should go. Sitting here for many years, we promoted our county as a retirement place to come and retire. Still support that, but we have a lot of young generation people moving to our county, and I think some of our focus should be on making sure we sell our county and make sure that, and I know we are working on it all the time with recreation, promoting what we have in our county, and again, going back, just to promote fishing, promote outdoorism, what we have for facilities. I think we have to sell ourselves in a different direction, more than just a retirement place, because we need the younger generation to move here to want to work and create jobs and businesses. Retired people don't really want to go back to work. They want to come here and just retire and make a good pace, because everything kind of slows down at times. But we do need to promote ourselves as a very active county. And what we have in our county, our river, and a lot of stuff's been discussed. Ways we can promote ourselves and a new development officer or development job, hopefully will bring creation of employment in here and pull because for many years here at council, we ate how much money we were putting into the theme park. And I can tell you, when the theme park closed, certain percentage died out in our town. Because people came here for a reason. Spent money in and out, going both directions. And when that theme park closed, we felt it as businesses. So when I ask people, younger people especially, what are you gonna come to Annapolis County for? They don't really know what there's here, We don't promote the exhibition enough. We don't promote, like I say, our rivers for sports and boating and stuff like that. I think we have a beautiful county, and I think we just have to really promote it. So I think that's some of our focus.
Thank you. I'm sure our economic development officer is gonna put a good spin on that, I would hope. Yes, Bruce?
I agree that we should be looking at the ending poverty and along with that food security as a huge issue in our community that needs to be examined closely. I do agree the other counselor with regards to getting ready for the wave that's going to hit us on the east end. We've got to get ahead of that. Absolutely. I think there's a lot of opportunity with the new development officer to sell the county as an area that is ripe for economic development. One of the reasons I moved here is because I saw opportunity. I was like, there's things here that are missing. There's holes in the market. There's opportunity here. So we have to let people know that exists, so that we can attract people that want to do that. But one of the things I've found in the last couple of years trying to grow is, as a small business, where do you grow to within the county? What opportunities exist to allow you to, like, we talk about housing and stuff, but we don't talk about, as small businesses grow out of their kids' bedrooms or their garages, or where do they go after that? Where do we create the space for small businesses to scale and provide the information to help them grow? So that's something that I've discovered was a bit of a process in the last few years, trying to grow my own business. And I think lastly, selling this county, it's a beautiful county. It's amazing. There's so much recreational opportunities and stuff here. Letting people know that we're a destination, not a place to pass through to get to other places. So that's just two of the ideas of it.
Okay,
Sure.
thank you. Who's next? Bargenbar.
Thank you. Well, I completely concur and agree with everyone you said so far. So I kind of broke this down into different focus points, development, of course, being top priority. I think we need to, we've done a really good job in terms of our secondary planning districts, particularly in the Cornwallis Park area and now the East End. And just good news is tomorrow we're going to present the draft for the Bridgetown secondary planning to that committee. So that's moving forward. And that speaks to those issues we're talking about in terms of development. It's not just commercial and industry, but it's tourism, it's recreation. So we've made some really good strides with that, particularly with the marketing of the ad hoc committee. But with the growth that's coming in the East End, that really brings it all into focus, and why it's so important that we got this established process in place. Resources, we need to continue to advocate and encourage oversight in terms of our forest management, right? That's extremely important for the community forward. We need to promote more in terms of our tourism resources, parks, trails, beaches. As one of the, I believe it was Councilor Collin mentioned, that those are resources that they're natural that we have, and our brand is naturally rooted. So we really need to continue focusing on that as well. I had reserves here as well. I think we need to establish and maintain mandated reserve policies. I don't know if we've actually, if that's, I know that we're talking about that particularly now with this particular council and the new direction I think that we've taken. And that's extremely important. If we don't, along with that was infrastructure in terms of being proactive rather than reactive. So those two issues go together. And I think well, not a matter of thinking, it's reality. If we don't have the reserves, if we don't have the money, then we're always gonna be chasing. You know, the tail's gonna be wagging the dog. So mandatory reserves are budgeting on a yearly basis is what I had there. And finally, I had staffing as a focus point as well. One of our biggest expenses, and what I'm really encouraged with the current situation that we have here is the idea of hiring the right person for the right job to get the biggest bang for the buck rather than, you know, and I mean, we have a wonderful staff and there's lots of opportunity for those folks as well that work for us. And there's a lot of good talented people there that may fill some of these jobs as well. But I think that's a good focus to maintain that hiring sort of philosophy. So those are the issues that I have, you know, in terms of focus points. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Cranston.
I just echo or just say I agree with like the comments that are just said before. And you know, where should the county director focus? I agree on the items that were marked uncompleted as you have one of them bring up that wasn't on there, but specifically the anti-poverty working group in the plan strategy. So I do recall seeing the original document, the one. So I think that was a step in the right direction, and I was excited to see that because it is an important issue and it's a multifaceted issue. Controlling staff bring back some information and see there's several factors that affect poverty and contribute, and there's some not as apparent, as most people generally associate it with economic conditions, but it's also environmental, education, literacy levels, and all that ties in. And then the influence that poverty has on that, it has equal influence out on conditions inside in terms of business opportunities and workforce and things like that. So it's a multifaceted item. So, and I'm really glad that we've done the work we have on it. And for myself, that would be maintain that momentum and keep working on that. Things you've heard from residents about where we should focus. I just want to bring up a new one. So we said focus on the completed ones without burning anything new, but as mentioned earlier, concerns about fire safety and drought. I'm hearing more and more of it, and specifically around concerns around dry wells and access to potable water and all of that. So in terms of county-wide initiatives that I feel we should consider, again, I'm not trying to add to what's already on a full plate, but water security, access to potable water is something in general that we have. Say if there's a way to fit it into strategic priority 4, I guess, invested in our people. So again, access to water is a poverty issue, and I think there's lots of areas and, you know, specific items, like item 2, the numerous funding programs and all that. So specifically had inquiries on programs for well financed, things like that. So just a general comment is if we could find a way to consider being a little bit of focus or exploration on that topic. These priorities.
Okay. I'll make a side comment on that one. I don't know if Councillor Connell will remind, well, I'm sure you'll remember. Years ago, we had grants time policy of wealth that people could more of the money through the county.
Not
And
long ago,
it was
only a
coming,
year ago.
and then it was dropped.
Yeah.
Because nobody was, a year ago it was dropped because nobody used it. So it's something maybe we're gonna have to look at again, obviously. Again, might be something that they didn't know about or had forgotten it was there. Okay, that's my 5 cents. It's your turn, Councillor Welch. Oh,
I'm glad Counselor brought that up, the water security in our county. It's been on my mind a lot this last year, with all the shortages that happened last year. And one of the things I was wondering we couldn't do, like, I like the idea of the well, program. But also on the short term, is there some way that the county can facilitate some sort of bulk water station? In places that we already have potable drinking water, where people come and fill jugs. Cornwallis Park or other options that we could potentially look at least on the short term, to gap fill. I know some of the other municipalities do that.
yeah, we've discussed that.
It's buying all the water is cost prohibitive and it's not sustainable. And it's environmentally
Unlike
Climate responsible.
people can bring jugs. Like I know like the lineup in Weymouth. That there was crazy last summer. It said it would take you an hour or more to fill. In a lineup that stretched 20-30 cars sometimes. So it's a concern not just within our municipality, but in our region.
I agree. Councillor Longmire and
Thank
Councillor Connell.
So I equally feel strongly about a regular connection with our MLAs, our MPs. We've made this, a new relationship, let's call it, by these intermunicipal working groups and such. But, we need to be meeting with them more regularly so that we know what's actually happening or what's available. It just does generate a different type of discussion than just getting a document that says this is what the province is doing or offering. And I think about the ripple effect around poverty, schools, and I believe it was 2024, 2025, but it might have been 2023, 2024. But the federal government had made millions available for schools and breakfast program. And then I know that the province was then carrying another large portion, millions and millions, to expand that breakfast into a lunch program, which was going to go a long ways in helping some of the poverty issues that our families face. And as Councillor Cranton had mentioned, it isn't just about housing. You can provide housing, but it's so much more about what skills and relationships might not exist, the support systems that might not be, close by. It is so far reaching. And it's gonna take a lot to turn that around, but certainly food and water. Great discussion around water. I had mentioned to the last CAO how wonderful it would be if someday in our vision, we could see 2 places in our county where water would be available. I know that doesn't necessarily meet with accessibility. How would you get there and drag your water home? But nowhere is bottled water sustainable, and certainly if we're looking at, climate, our position on climate change and sustainability, we certainly don't want to be trying to make ourselves more aware and doing better around efficiency and then find ourselves offering cases of bottled water, out to, anyways, just something to think about. I look at the Bear River comfort space down there, and no, we can't promote collecting water from there. It's bigger than just collecting the water. Is it safe water to drink? And we have to make sure that it is, right?
Exactly, yeah.
So bigger discussion, but that ripple effect around poverty goes right straight through into health and wellness and mental unwellness. It's just, so until we really face, head on poverty and address some of those real issues. It's gonna be tough, and it's gonna be that partnership federally, provincially, municipally, and then just locally in our businesses that have really stepped up year after year to provide resources to schools for backpack programs and things like that, so children can go home from school on the weekend supplied with some of their needs, right? So it takes some pressure off families, but it's a big one, so.
Thank you. Councillor Connell?
And I'd like to just touch on the water and how staff will help do that because water users are paying for the water systems. Then all of a sudden we open water, free water for outsiders. And I can tell you, there was a gentleman from the Bridgetown area last year that came to our community hall, Fort George, every week. Minivan full of jugs. And we have an outside tap because years ago, the hall provided good water to the community. Now that people know it's there, we almost came to a point of making the decision last year on shutting it off because it's not only the residents in Fort George who use it, it's the people all over go to Fort George and get water. Our water system is registered water supply, same as the municipality. We have to do tests on it every 3 months. We have 2 years. We have to do a chemical test, which is expensive. But the use of that water has grown severely. And I know this one gentleman was from the Bridgetown area, and we figured he must have been feeding livestock and everything because he came every week. And just numerous jugs after jugs after jugs. So I know it may become a touchy subject because of the communities that are paying for water. All of a sudden, the municipalities are offering free water. It's a needed thing. So I don't know how we can achieve it, but definitely got to work on coming up with an idea of how we can. Because I'm noticing the influx of people coming to our hall to use water.
Yeah.
So it would be nice if our municipalities water supplies, which is treated water, could be offered in the time of drought and stuff like that. So,
It's certainly something that needs to be looked into.
Yeah.
I agree. We all know that when you start with housing, at least it helps out with other insecurities of the other parts, but there's a lot of issues that we are all facing. But we're working on them, a little bit at a time. Anybody else have anything to say? Do you have anything more?
It's my last slide, so again, just a couple of observations about our current strat plan, and I've heard some of this mentioned today, which is good. So current strat plan, very little reference to fiscal responsibility, so Councillor Eigenberg just mentioned about reserve policy, that would be a good example of that, but if you read through the current strat plan, there's almost no mention of that, but it's something that I've heard you all discuss and talk about. And we need to find a way to make sure that finds its way into the strat. I'd say it does not mention advocacy. I know there was one section that Councillor Fair mentioned, but again, to that point, we need to have a further discussion of what that looks like and how we decide what we are advocating for or not. Does not address some internal efficiencies. So again, you've had some discussion about that as well. We do have some significant work to do on updating bylaws, policies, and procedures. So that kind of touches a little bit on everything, but to me, it's back to that. And a couple of you have mentioned, we need to do what we do very, very well before we start getting into lots of other things as well. And part of that is looking at bylaws and policies to make sure that they're up to date and current and used the way they should. Not much of a focus at all in current plan about equity, diversity, and inclusion and accessibility. There's a couple about accessibility, not much about the EDI side. Again, we're doing some work in those areas, but we may want to consider adding something to the strat plan if that is a focus. And again, lastly, just for clarification for everybody, it's important that we get some SMART goals in there. So, you know, we've talked about a number of the items that were in there currently that, you know, nobody really knows exactly what the goal was or when or who was going to do it. And so without some of that stuff, it will just probably fall off until we have a discussion like this and get further direction. So the more we can make anything that's in that strat plan a SMART goal, specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and have a time frame to it, that will certainly help as we move forward. And then, you know, no matter who has that plan in their hands, they can look at it and say, okay, well, I see we're trying to do this by next fiscal or the following fiscal or whatever. With that, that's all I had. So unless there's other questions or discussion.
Councillor
I was at the MLA's office. He first went in and he was asking me questions about our taxation structure and how he could push the province or things to the province on how he could make things better for the county. And we talked about taxation on forestry and the taxation on agriculture. And it's been a beef of mine ever since I've been on council. It's been a beef of mine ever since I've been on council that I received separately, I think 7 or 8 tax bills, all separately sent out, which cost us as a county every time we send a tax bill out. And it just blows my mind that I can't get one letter saying I owe 7 tax bills. It's money spent on something that we, I know it takes programs to do that. When I talked to the MLA, again, in this council chamber, we talked several times on forestry. We could have a picturesque county on forestry if we had some provision on, if you're getting, and I even own forestry, and I even ask myself, why isn't the county doing something? Besides giving me a $25 an acre cut, 25 cents an acre cut, and they don't ask me to do anything with my forestry. Well, people are gonna take advantage of everything they can take advantage of. So, in my mind, it's always been is that if you own big blocks of land, going to Jesse's too, is that we see, along with individuals that live in our county, but we see foreign investments that have bought big blocks of land in our county that don't want you to even walk across it as long as anything else. But that forestry line, it's getting bugs in it, the blow down, the creation of prime forest fire areas. But we do nothing to discourage that. If there was a tax that if you haven't got that forestry management, you're not paying 25 cents an acre, you're paying more. How many jobs would that create if all of a sudden I had a letter sent to me and said, you own 30 acres of forestry. If you don't show some form of forestry management, your taxes aren't gonna be 25 cents, it's gonna be this. I'm gonna go look for a local person to do silviculture. I'm gonna go local person to cut that old forest off that's dying. You know, so the MLA talks about it, but it's a political disaster too, politically. Because when people get hit in the pocketbook, they don't want you to be part of it anymore. So it's a fine line. But same as agriculture, we've seen agriculture in our county from the time I was a boy, going to local farms, doing odd jobs at those farms. that gave me income the whole time I was a kid. Our farms have been dying out. Getting people to do those types of jobs have died out, so farmers had to revamp on how they do farming. Get more sophisticated with better equipment, so they don't have to hire people. But also, same thing, we've seen people come in and buy 100-acre block, and they don't want nobody to cut the grass, they don't want nobody to put anything on the land, because they don't wanna do forestry, they never, or agriculture, they never bought it to do agriculture, they bought it mostly to build a house in the middle of it, so no one can do anything around it. But they get exempt. And they still get exempt, pay no taxes on that agricultural land. But it's never used as agriculture. So that's a beef that I have and always have had. And even with our own lands, is that I'm gonna take the 25 cents an acre. As long as it's given to me, I'm gonna take it. But it's not helping our county any with all this land not being, nothing achieved by it, nothing good for the county. And I was part of the program with the Department of Agriculture years ago, when they sent private consultants around to look at forestry land that was registered forest or agriculture. And it's all over this province. I mean, the consultant firm I work for, we did up at Amherst. And we discovered there was cottages built on agricultural land that the agricultural department didn't even know. You know, we went in driveways that were supposed to be agricultural fields that you couldn't even get in through the driveway. That's as far as you got, because there was trees that had grown for 10 years in the pastures. You know, so some of our land is being tied up by not being used properly. And I think that trying to work with the province on doing a better job at taxation on these properties could improve our community. There's some people gonna be annoyed, sort of there, because they bought it. They don't pay no taxes on it. It's, we've got a handful, we've got a population in our county that's paying for all of that. Because they get the fire services, they get the police services, they get the essential services that the taxpayers pay for. Even though they don't contribute through that. So.
Thank you. That has been a subject that we've touched upon at this council table for many, many years. And I've been sitting here too. Councillor Oxner, you're next.
Further to, Councillor Connell's comment, you've been very lucky if your forestry land is still forestry. Because a lot of it's being identified and it's not under management. It's redone as forestry resource, which pays a much higher tax rate. If it goes under management, then it reduces back to forestry. So you've been very lucky. So if forestry land can be identified, it's not being in production, why can't we do that with agricultural land?
Agreed.
You know, people come in and as Councillor Connell said, and buy vast acres, it sits idle. They should be paying a higher taxation rate, or it should be under some sort of management, whether it's a lease to a farm or they're doing something with it themselves. So I think we have the ability to do that. And I think we need to take a stronger stand on it.
And especially when people from wherever have bought property and they're never here, or haven't been here in 10, 20 years. It's difficult to reach them or talk to them. Something has to be looked into. Councillor Engelbauer, you're up.
Okay. So CAO, when you send out the initial memo to us to prepare for this session, one of the last things that was on it was what is a project we would love to see us do. I know we talked about some of the strategic things that we should consider, but specific projects. And I don't wanna sound like I'm beating the same old drum, but I guess I am. The number one priority for my constituency and ultimately for the whole county is the Granville Street West infrastructure project. That's costing everybody in the county a lot of money for every day that it doesn't go through. So that's, and I know that there's certain reasons why it hasn't gone through, but we really need to focus on getting that done. As far as I'm concerned, I want to go on. Just a week ago, we had 7 water breaks in a 2 or 3 day period. 6 of those, I believe, were all on West Granville. And that was a result of infrastructure malfunction. But that costs money, costs a lot of money. So the longer this thing goes, the harder it's gonna be to, or, the more it's gonna cost us. And the other one was, as far as the planning department is concerned, these are the projects, continue to look at ways to reduce red tape for development. So those are the 2 projects that I was sort of identified under that category. And I know we've done a lot in our new planning strategies and our MPS and IUBs. But I think we need to continue to look at ways to do that going forward in the future. Because that's what's gonna help drive that development that we need so much for the issues we have. I just wanted to say.
Perfect, thank you. Anybody else before we're done? You have a list there that you've been accumulating. I didn't see you
I'm
writing.
only gonna hit on one. I'm only gonna hit on one, and for good reasons. I have to agree with Councillor Eggenbar, and I've heard from the deputy warden in the past as well about the infrastructure in Bridgetown, and I'm gonna just go a little bit further. It's now a growing inconvenience. It doesn't build confidence in community to, let's say, we want to grow economics in Bridgetown. If we're facing 7 water main breaks, issues on a regular occurring basis, it's gonna really, play havoc on people who might consider being in that town to purchase property and to set up business. It's the unpredictability. You can't know when it's happening, and then all of a sudden you've got a business. I have a business in downtown Bridgetown, and they're not all with smart devices. So getting a hold of them after they've left their home to come to my clinic, I can't get a hold of them. All of a sudden they're now finding out they arrive and the clinic is canceled because I can't run a clinic without water. Hand washing is a priority. So I think about the other businesses that might think they would like to be in that town. And so we have come to that place where of all of the projects, like this one has to happen. I don't know where the money's gonna come from. I know you can't burden everyone with higher taxes, but how do we build confidence in people? How do we encourage people to come and set up business? How do we, go forward and face the unpredictable inconvenience, which is more than just an inconvenience. And when we talk about staff and the load on staff, they do it with a smile on their face. They sure do. I see them. That is just heavy work on a regular basis. I don't know how you sustain that, for another 2, 3, 4, 5 years. So I'm in total agreement with that being priority number 1.
Lots of money. Councillor Connell.
Well, I'd like to think that that would be our priority too, but I think our mindset has to change on that. I think one thing the majority majority of the brakes was a malfunction, like our colleague Ted said. So I bear. But we should be bringing back an option of just putting the infrastructure along the road and fixing the road, leaving sidewalks alone. Because it's great to do everything 100% if the money's there. But to live within our means, the priority should be the road surface and the infrastructure along the road. Getting new pavement on number one highway. Again, big scoop to Frenchie's. But next year, they're coming back and cutting that brand new pavement and replacing 2 big culverts.
Mm-hmm.
Because the money's not there this year to put them 2 culverts in.
It didn't West Springs.
Exactly, so I mean, if we haven't got the funding to do a full-fledged project on that end of the Bridgetown Street or community, then we should look at what we can afford to do and what needs to get done. And I think the road service is absolutely, and the infrastructure under that road service. But a big majority of the cost of doing that project was having the poles put back, disturbing of the lawns, putting in breath sidewalks. Like I said, it would be great if we could go in there and do a massive job. But how are we gonna come up with the money, and are we going beyond our means? Because
It's a big job.
it's a big job, and we have other jobs within our county too. I think that we should have that option added into coming back and trying to fix that solution toward fixing.
I don't have an opinion. To me, that's highway one. That's all
Yeah.
That's all. I'll only say that. I'll only say that. I'm done talking.
If I may, Warren, I just want to jump in quickly on because the discussion on the table is almost like we're not doing it. And I want to be very clear, like the engineering work is happening this year.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big project, so you've probably been told numbers of $30 million.
Mm-hmm.
And the plan is that engineering's this year, and then over the next 3 years, it's happening. Like, we need to find the money, that's the plan, it's in your capital plan. So you can tell people that is the process. You can't, when you're talking spending $10 to $30 million, and for every part of the project, you can't just go, let's just go do it. So it is, it's
Waiting.
and, to Councillor Connell's comment, absolutely, we will need to have discussions about, can we do it all at once, can we do parts of it? But that's the plan, that's what the engineering work is, which will be coming back to you sometime.
Thank you.
I heard six.
Okay, thank you. I have 2 people thinking in the conversation now. Deputy Warden and Councillor Aguilar.
Thank you. I have to note that I didn't say one thing during this.
Oh, I wrote it then.
Yeah. Oh, for committee conversation. But yeah, so Granville Street, and electrical work below. Yeah.
I thought, what is that?
So, I do agree that it's a priority, and I'm aware, and I make sure that I tell people affected in that area that it's not canceled, still moving forward. But the problem that we're all seeing and hearing is, well, the project's been delayed. So really, what was originally planned, how we all plan everything, that this year would have been the first year of actual digging in the ground. And last year was engineering. Because the year before that was when we approved to go and do it. And I think that's where some of the people are getting concerned or worried because we were still going with that and we were telling that, and I was telling with the information that I was provided where last year was designed. Not that, like, I think that's part of it where we never actually came out to say officially that this year we're in engineering, which we are, and we have been for quite some time, but that all started with that whole sidewalk thing that went nowhere. So, perhaps we need to make some type of announcement or something saying that we are still moving forward with it this year. It's engineering, then proceeding that based on approvals that we'll be moving forward with shovels in the ground.
They just heard it now.
Well, yes. We all know, we all know how social media and keyboard people and, because I've heard more things about this project of, oh, well, the feds put a stop to it, or this, or blah, 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 blah. So perhaps we could just put something out there. And, we don't want to rush something that, this big of an issue. But at the same time, we do need to do it and do it right. But there is some places where the infrastructure is actually in the sidewalk and it's not in the road. So, that's part of the issue. And I have all the faith in our public works team to do this and do it right. I did see Public Works today doing some patching on Bay Road, and they're doing it really well. Like, they're actually cutting out bigger than the hole is and doing it right. And I have all the faith in the world that our Public Works team's gonna do it. Hopefully, we'll start moving into patching Granville Street. And I'm assuming in time we will. But I just want to ensure people that we are moving forward. It is a concern. But, so that would definitely be a priority of mine, as well as the Upper Clements Park and other potential developments that we need to start really making things happen. And I'm really impressed that we are. Like, we'll have an RFP out on Clements Park. We're working with different developers. We have the previous plan that's going for review to the committee. So I just want to continue that pace and move forward, because we still need to grow, but we need to grow sustainably, as well as we need to match our infrastructure to match that. I just wanted to go full steam ahead, but on a cautious,
On a budget.
cautious path.
I don't know where you got the money back, but I don't have the money back.
All the feds will come.
No, they're not.
That's what they'll do.
Thank you, Councilor. Deputy Warden. Councilor Aguilar?
Yeah, I just want to reiterate why I brought this subject up in the first place. It's because not that it wasn't going forward. I understand it is, but that every day, and I can't speak for Deputy Warden Enslow, but every day, when I go to pick up my mail or whatever, the phone rings, or, and people say, where am I gonna have a shower tomorrow? I haven't been able to shower for 3 days. I just want to make it clear that this is a major project that needs to go forward. And I know that, we're doing the engineering. We just need to find a way to let the public know that it is still there, it's still going forward, and it's gonna get done. Didn't mean to open up a big can of worms, but
Well,
just wanted to make sure that it's top of mind.
it's a discussion that everybody had to have. So thank you very much. If nobody has any more questions or statements or comments, and the wish list. Does our CEO have any words of wisdom at the end, or are you done? You're done too. Okay, great. So I guess we're done for this discussion on a strategic plan, and I have to say, thank you very much for going through this with us. And thanks everybody for all the discussion. And I now go on and have fun with the rest of the day. Enjoy it. And meeting is adjourned.